What is up, everybody? It is Roctavia with Rock News UK After Dark. Nothing risque or anything. It's just dark outside here in Chicago. But yeah. So yeah. I am here with another great rock news candidate. I want to throw it out to my interviewee tonight. Go ahead and introduce yourself to your international audience.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm ZouZou from Soraia. So, hi.
Fantastic. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Can you do me a favor and give us kind of a background on the band and all of the members that aren't currently with us tonight?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm ZouZou. I'm the singer and I write the lyrics. And then for most of the songs, if not all right now. And then Travis Smith has been with me the longest. He's the bassist and also my co-writer, my main co-writer. He writes all the music and the riffs that you love and works with me on arranging this song. And then there's Mike Didolovich, who is our guitar player. He's phenomenal. He's been a friend for years. He only recently joined with us, but we've known him and his band that he was with, the Nuclears. We played with him in New York constantly and in Philly, so we've known him for like 4 or 5 years now. And then Brianna Sig, who is our drummer for the last 6 years now, and yeah, she's a badass in every way, one of my best friends. And I co-write with her as well on the albums. You'll see like different songs by me and her. And then there's also John Hildenbrand, who isn't on every gig with us, but he's been on more gigs with us since quarantine ended. He plays organ and all sorts of piano and whatever's required for Farfisa. And he tours with us, and he's at most of the shows, and hopefully more and more of the shows, if not all, moving forward. But that's basically who Soraia is today. So
fantastic. How about we go ahead and start from scratch? Let's start from the beginning. Go ahead and tell everybody how you got into music and what made you so passionate, because I've seen you on stage and there is a lot of fire behind your vocals. So what inspired all of that?
Thank you. First of all, thanks for saying that, and thanks for coming out. Remember the first time I saw you. I think since I was in second grade, I remember my mom had a 45 of a song called You Light Up My Life, and I remember hearing it and being like, I want to sing that on stage. And no one in my family was a musician, no one in my family was a singer, but my dad and my mom were in love with music. Like, I always heard music growing up, and my father was really into, there was an Arabic singer called Omar Kalsoum. My father was Egyptian, so he played her all the time in the car, and sometimes he went through phases where he loved country music and loved Johnny Cash and then Beatles. And my mom was a huge, like I don't know if it was Motown, but I think between both of them I heard a lot of Motown, but like 70s and 60s rock and roll. And she was really into Elvis Presley. She loved Elvis Presley. Loved Elvis Presley. Yeah. And JFK. She was a big JFK fan. But yeah, they both just turned me on to a lot of music and a lot of roots rock and roll, which made me want to dance. Like I remember she'd always play me Run Around Sue, and I just we'd get up and dance to it. You know what I mean? So music was like a part of, isn't it? And so I grew up listening to a lot of music, but from like a really early age, like 6 or 7 in second grade, I wanted to be on stage singing, and that came from somewhere inside of me. Like, I didn't manufacture it. Nobody said you should do this or here's something that looks cool. I don't even remember seeing people on stage singing. So I mean, to just get that out of nowhere, I know that's real. You know what I mean? That's not something like I remember reading Patti Smith in Just Kids that she wrote. I saw Jim Morrison on stage and I thought I could do that. Like, where does that even come from? Like, usually see people perform, go like, I could do that. Let's go do it, or there's a whole different step from that looks something like something I could do and doing it, and that's what I did. I remember after school every day, coming home and like rocking and listening to the song and learning the lyrics that way. That's how I learned lyrics, by, just rocking back and forth. And I put it to that motion. So I always felt music, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I can definitely relate.
Yeah, I think anyone who's really into music, they have to move. It makes you move, and that's internal. You either have that. I've played with musicians that don't have that internal clock.
That metronome that's built in to your core. I know exactly what you mean.
You gotta believe it's there too. You gotta believe it's real. Like, I think that's half of it. Is, I think when I was growing up, the reason I didn't pursue it past second grade is I remember I had a deeper voice and a heavier voice, and I never got parts like other girls got parts in plays and things like that. I never got them. So I made that mean I'm not a singer. And I thought, you're either born a singer. Nobody told me this. These are all things I decided on my own.
Right.
And so I became a drummer. I was a drummer in high school. I was in a bunch of high school bands. I practiced all the time. I had a drum set that I brought. I bought my first drum set I bought. And it was like just pieces of different drum sets. And,
I remember seeing a clip of you. Oh, I don't remember where I first saw it. Like, Brianna wasn't on the set. And I think you had just jumped behind it, like just on a whim. Like, you just jumped behind it and you just like held your own, and you're just like, I was like, wait, what? What is going on? What? I didn't know, because like I didn't know this is like when it was fresh and I didn't really know much, and I was like, no way.
Oh yeah I started on drums. Like, I loved singing and I wanted to be a singer from day one. I thought I can't be a singer, and I was like, I love drums, and I played drums all throughout high school and beyond, and I just loved I loved being that backbeat. And I played bongos. I played all sorts of percussion in high school orchestra. Like, I played timpani. I wanted to play handbells because I liked the gloves they wore, but I never did. But I wanted to. I still want to. Maybe I'll find a way to incorporate that in a song. I probably will, actually. So, but yeah, that's how it all started for me. And I kind of, by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I knew I wanted to be in a touring band. I'd gone with our high school band backed like the chorale, the singers, and we did a tour of shopping malls and nursing homes, basically. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. Like, not necessarily shopping malls and nursing homes, but I didn't really even care. I was just excited to be on the road with my friends playing music.
Yeah.
In hotel rooms and being silly with each other in hotel, you know what I mean? And we do that today. And like, that's what I wanted to do. And so I knew at 15 pretty much what I wanted to do with my life. And then it just took some convincing of other people to, not to let me, but to just make them understand that it was real and pure. Yeah. Your parents want you to be.
Yeah. I remember talking to my mom about him. Like, I even went as far to be like, hey, can you emancipate me so I can like go follow this music thing? And I was like, no. I kind of loved when we were in band. Like, I was in all sorts of realms of band, and we were so good. Like, our school band like went up through Canada and stuff like that, and like had like a little mini tour and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to do it. But it was like, no, you gotta go to accredited schools, and you can't do that, and you can't move to Cali. And it was just like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and you. The approval of your parents is such a big thing at that point, and like, because your whole life has been yes or no for that area, so you don't realize that, like, how important it is that they support you. And I think that with everything, with anybody that wants to really do it, and I see that gleam in their eye and they tell me a story like that, I go like, you're supposed to be doing it, just do it. It's not going to be easy. It's just not. It's nothing great is easy. Like, it's,
so true.
So I try and
nothing.
Yeah, I just try and always put. Yeah, I always try to put in like positive. Like, I just watched Moneyball the other day, which was an amazing movie. I had no idea how good it was, and I was like, that's just it. It's like anything you try that's kind of like off the beaten path, you're gonna get bloody. You know what I mean? It's okay. Accept it. Do it. Yeah. That's part of why you're a badass. You know what I mean? You have to be. If you're not, you're gonna just get crushed quickly.
Yeah.
So,
I can relate to like the whole thing when you were singing with musicals and stuff like that. That's really cool that like you were into all that stuff.
Yeah.
They deemed me a nerd because I would love musicals and love Cats, and I would always get cast like in the lead role because I had this like voice. I had a crazy range, and I could get super high and I was super low. And I had a lead role just before high school, I think. And I kind of got a little over practice and I lost it. And like, I hadn't really like gone back to like, cause like I lost it on opening night.
Oh no.
During my solo.
That's like everyone's nightmare right there.
Yeah. I hadn't really like, that was the last time I was like out in the front of everything. Like I hadn't really like sang. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like play instruments. And that's where like my fire kind of went. Like, you were like, you have a lovely voice. I'm like, oh, I'll just go bang something or tootle instead of like, but like, what musical or what song made you like the most passionate, gave you the most fire?
I definitely, the women, there was two women that really inspired me. And just because I heard their voice and I like Joan Jett, I heard her voice and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was male or female. I didn't know what it was. I just was like, I've never heard anything like this before. And it just had such grit. And what's so funny is in her voice, I heard everything that I needed to hear, and I already knew who she was. And after that, learning more about her, I was like, of course, I already knew that when I heard her voice. Like, there's not many voices I can say I hear everything about that person when I hear their voice singing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It didn't matter if it was like Bad Reputation or Crimson and Clover or I Love Rock and Roll, any of the big hits or the ones like I Want to Be Your Dog, like the lives that she does that are raw and gritty. It's like you hear who she is, and it's genuine, it's real. And to me, rock and roll has to be genuine and real for me to really, for it to like really resonate and affect me. Those are the singers that really affected me. And the other one is really a couple people, I guess. It's another, I'd say it's two women, but it's like maybe two women and a guy. Definitely Kurt Cobain. Yeah. When I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time, I was like, what is that? Like, it wasn't male or female this time. It was more like, what is that? And it wasn't like somebody being aggressive, though his voice was raspy and scratchy, but melodic. It was like, I can like kind of break it down now, but back then it was just a feeling, you know what I mean? A feeling of like, there's this sound that just like really affects me and I want more of it. And that's how I felt about Joan Jett. That's how I felt about Kurt Cobain. And there was a song I heard by Pat Benatar, and it was called Shadows of the Night. And for whatever reason, I never told anyone this, but when I heard that song for the first time, I pictured myself on stage. And this is like much later. I pictured myself on stage like singing this song, like to a lot of people, but mostly I just pictured myself on stage. I didn't even picture an audience. So like, what is that? Like, so it's like just, magical and fantastic. And I just daydreamed about it and eventually I did it. So but those are the people that those songs and voices affected me. And then later on, even like more recently, I'd say Tina Turner, Motown, Wilson Pickett's voice, Wilson Pickett. I was just listening to last night driving home, and I was like, my God, him and Otis Redding's voice just, they blow me away. There's like, again, that realness. And to me, that is rock and roll. Like what Joey Ramone always said, like punk rock is just doing what you feel, not necessarily like punching people in the head with your, but I feel that way about rock and roll. Does it free me up? Then it's rock and roll. Like, you know what I mean? Like, does it make me feel like, yeah, okay, like I can be and do whatever I want. Like, that's rock and roll. It frees you. So I hear that sometimes in people's voices. I hear it in songs. I see it in performances. You know what I mean? It's all different, but the feeling is the same.
I love that. I can relate more to that like musical inspo background, like especially like the Joan Jett part. I hear all that.
Yeah.
And I love like you emit this Joan Jett vibe too. Like you just have this like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like that powerful woman. Like I'm not trying to be though. It just originates here and like, you know, I got this. I got my own. This like badass kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, like I definitely was inspired by that, and thank you for saying you noticed that, because that is an honor and something I wanted my whole life, since from being a little girl to like now. So that's all I ever wanted. Like you could say, here's $1 million, you know, for a hit song. I'd be like, that's great. But what you just said affects me much more than that.
I'm not like blowing smoke, y'all. I've seen this woman jump up on stage in like heels on the kick, on the drum, jump up, belt out, like chorus. And I'm just like, what is happening? Holy hell. And then jump off and like, you know, play to the drummer. And like the audience is just like, whoa. And like, I'm like, look around and everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, we're in for something good here. We're in for something special. I'm ready.
Thank you. I was thinking the other day on stage, I was looking around. I was like, who can I attack? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just get like, I have to hit somebody. Like I have to like go for somebody, you know? And I just look around to see what the band's doing, to see who's open to it, you know? But yeah, I mean, nothing more like going into an audience and just going like, I know you want to do this, just do it, you know, like just sing, or, you know, it's powerful stuff, you know.
So what made you decide to form the band? Like, how did that happen? Tell us that process.
I think I always wanted, like when I told you about high school, I mean, I wanted to be with a group of people. I never wanted to just, I think it's a different desire to like want to be like a solo. Like I want to go out and I'll bring these musicians in and they can be this person, or maybe I have a stable of musicians I use. But like I really wanted this brotherhood, sisterhood kind of community-ish. We're all going after the same thing vibe. And you know, like I can tell you there's times when things get hard that if you don't have that, you know, I mean, I think other people have other people that, you know, guide them. And I do have that as well. But I feel like, you know, there's certain things I'll go to my band with, or I'll say, you think we should try this? Or you think we should, you know, like when I'm writing with Travis, I go, do you think this is dumb? Do you think this is cool? Like, I trust him in that way, that we can speak like that, and I believe him. And he'll be honest with me. And then I'll say to Brianna, like, do you think this is like, do you think this outfit's like me or not me? Or, you know, she'd be like, whatever you feel. And I'd be like, I know, but I'm uncomfortable in this, but I want to be uncomfortable, but I just want to like, am I wearing it like? So you have those relationships with people that have been with you a while, and there's a chemistry that's undeniable when you've been playing together a while. That's different than the relationships. Like the relationships don't always have to be wonderful. Like you're going to have disagreements. There's times, the longer we're together, the more, like I have the most disagreements with Travis because he's the one who's been there the longest. And then Brianna would be second because she's been there the second longest. But like, you know, you build up also this chemistry together that I don't get up there and worry that anybody's going to forget a part, and if they do, it's funny. It's not like a train wreck, you know. There's a difference. You learn to depend on each other. And to me, that's vital on stage. That's vital while I'm touring, that I'm not alone. I'm not lonely, you know, because I've done that where I've been with players that, you know, are good players, but I don't feel close to them, or I don't feel connected in some way.
Right.
Or they have my back, you know what I mean? I don't need people to always have my back, but I know everybody wants the music to be great and the band to be great. And to me, that's Soraia. Actually, Soraia means like a powerful force. And to me, 5 or 6 people coming together is different than one person. So I've always been attracted to that, even though I find it is probably a more difficult path to keep a band together. I still think that it's the most rewarding and the most satisfying. Yeah.
So can you tell us what actually was your most memorable moment with the band so far? Like, give us something that like you're like, oh man, this is timeless. I'll never forget this.
Honestly, it's probably the most recent time because my memory is just so bad. But like for real, like I'm like, well, there was that time in Galveston, Texas, when that guy tried to sell us that snake. But And that
Wait,
was
what?
yeah, we were in Galveston, Texas. This is when we still thought an RV was a good idea to tour in. And I always say it's the first inception of Soraia because I love those guys. And Travis is still with me, but the other guys are not. But Travis is still with me, Chris is still with me. But there was a guy, Dave and Joe, who Joe's still a great friend of mine. Dave, I see once in a while, but not much. But they were the first Soraia, like they were the first real Soraia. And we toured and we got in RVs that broke down constantly and we had adventures. But we were in Galveston, Texas, and we were in our RV and we had pulled up, next to the beach because everybody's like, well, let's wake up next to the beach, So we woke up and it was the beach and we were happy. And there was a knock on the door of the RV and we opened it and there's a guy with a big snake. And I was like, what the hell? Right? I've never been to Galveston, Texas. So I'm like, why is somebody holding a snake at the door of our RV? And he just wanted to sell us a snake. So, but we didn't buy it and we didn't have money for it and we didn't have room. But he was a really sweet snake. And, but I say sweet and only most recent because anytime you go that far away with people, you really see who they are. You see people in different elements. And I got to see, I was really excited to see our keyboardist overseas with us because he's so funny to be around when you're around him 24/7 rather than just like at, recording or at one show or even a couple shows. It's like a different animal when you've flown in a plane to get somewhere and stay and change time zones. You see people at their rawest form and they're just more real. And I just loved all of them. I was like, I love this band. Like if I wasn't in it, I would follow you guys. Like, you're just such good people. And it was just such, there was good energy all around and everybody was into rock and roll there. And we just had great audiences. And to come back from almost 2 years of just, either not playing to an audience or playing to very few people or playing to people who were a little, scared to be there, not scared, not freed up like they normally are. It was nice to have that experience, so it felt the most normal I think I felt in 2 years. So, and that's important. So.
For sure. I can definitely relate to that. Wow.
It's good to be back.
So this is a question that I personally kind of wanted to ask you guys. I hope this is okay. I feel like it's really important what your band is doing. You have a female on lead vocals and you have a female behind the kit on the drums. And you yourself have been a drummer before, which is like, there are female drummers out there, but I feel like you don't see it as much as we should. You should see it more often. Women in different roles. Do you feel, this is kind of a weird question, but do you feel that you're a mouthpiece for women in music, and how would you best utilize that platform and that status?
I think it's really important. What I was attracted to with Brianna, because Brianna was in another band when I saw her, and she was always a fan of our band, and she was always getting us shows, and I'd pull her up on stage to play tambourine, and but like it was like 6 years ago I saw her playing, and it was her last show with the band she was with, and I was like, she sings. Well, I know how hard it is to sing and play drums. I've tried to do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Like I've tried. And so I watched it. She sang on pitch. She backed the singer well. Like she wasn't trying to overtake. And she was a phenomenal, tasteful drummer. And I thought, like, that's important for women to see women having integrity in what they do.
Yes.
Not just using. I think there's an empowerment to wanting to, like, I want to look good on stage. I don't have a problem going, like, I love, like, buying makeup. I love buying cool shoes. I love, like, dressing for stage. And it empowers me on stage to feel like I'm in a cool outfit, or I look amazing and I look like 90 feet tall or whatever.
You come correct, too. Like, your outfits are always on point.
Thank you. I try. I take pride in that, but I also have integrity in what I'm doing. I work on my vocals. I study and I study my own voice because it has its weaknesses.
That's important.
I want to know it, and I want to know it deeper than just being able to use it to gain something. I want it to be able to do all the things I need it to do, and I want it to keep getting better. I can say the same for Brianna. I've never seen anyone work with the ethic and the discipline and the perseverance that girl puts behind the drums and puts into her drumming and puts into her singing and puts into her own writing. You know, like she's constantly working on music because it's in her blood, and it inspires me to work harder. And I think there's times when we're both inspire each other when we're not there, you know, because you go through life is sometimes you're like, yes, I want to be better and I want to work, and then there's other times you're like, you know what, like I'm burnt out and you get in this comfortable place. It's normal. And to have somebody who's able to jolt you out of that because, and you know, I'll admit it's because she's another female and she ups her game. So that means I up my game. And to me, it's important for us to see, just like it was important for me to see women like Joan, who didn't stop. If she had a hit that year or the next year or not, she just kept doing. There's something in her documentary, and it kind of relates to what we're talking about. And it's a Bad Reputation documentary. If you haven't seen it, it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I've watched it like 80 times. I make a habit to watch it the night before we open for her every time too, to remember who I'm opening for. So, but she says in one part, she's like, they said, why didn't you quit or why didn't you stop? Because there were times where she lost that fire. And she said, because I knew we were good and I knew we just had to be seen. And I was like, I can relate to that. Like, I don't need to have like 23,000 people chanting my name to know that I'm doing something important. I want it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't need it. Like, there's some people who need it. They need that. Because I feel like, like I said in the beginning, it comes from a deeper place. And for another little girl, woman, no matter what age, if she's all the way in her 80s or 90s, or if she's like in her 50s or 20s or 30s or teens or 8 or 3, if she sees another female up there being herself and being just herself and not trying to fit this mold of what she thinks has to be loved and accepted, that's freeing. That's rock and roll. And that's important, you know? And I think there's times I've fallen victim to that, like, you know, I want to fit in, and it's dangerous. It's a dangerous place for an artist to go, because to get inspiration from other people that you find, you know, either physical or vocally or career-wise or whatever, that's fine. But you have to be able to differentiate, like, I'm a different person, I'm a different being, and I have something different to offer the world. As much as I venerate Joan, I have something different to offer the world than what she did, you know? And one of the first things that woman said to me that I still am blown away by, because I've never been nervous for most people that I've met that are like famous or known or whatever. I'm not nervous. And she's like a smaller woman too. Like, she's tiny. And I walked up to her and I could feel my voice shaking, and I was like, I saw her and I like ran away at first. I was just like, I didn't think I was supposed to see her, like, as if she was like, you turned to stone or something. But and Meryl called me out, her Meryl Laguna, her Blackheart Records. She's like, she wants to meet you. And I said, I remember just running away at the mouth and then being like, you saved my life. And I was like, what did I just say? Like, I was like, you saved my life. And she goes, oh, isn't that what you're doing for people now? Like,
oh,
like, you know, she's right. So here's your like idol.
I love her even more.
I know. Basically, you're doing it because this person's done it, right? And shown you that it can be done. So that's what she did for me. That's what I want to do for other women and men. But I especially, you know, feel that seeing her made me know that I could do it. So it's important for a woman also to see a woman doing it and not quitting when things get hard, and not changing her stripes when things get hard either, you know? So I think we need more of that, and we need more reality, and we need more real, however that looks, you know, and the right people will find it. But yeah, I think like to know that responsibility as a woman, as a mouthpiece, and to have something to say, like I've written a lot of songs, but I'm like, that I don't really say anything. I just wrote it to write it, and it does. It's really important to me to have something to say, and I'm not saying that for everybody, but for me, I can't get up there night after night or even year after year and sing a song that I feel absolutely like it's just banter, you know what I mean? Or just really cool melody and it's a hit song. Like I love seeing people respond no matter what, but like those songs that affected me, like had something in them that affected me. Usually hope or fire or defiance, you know, like even Because the Night by Patti Smith, like that's about being in like a romantic, wonderful love, but there's some kind of defiant, like individual, like rebel in her voice that makes it like fantastic. Like it's not just like a love song or like Because the Night. She's so poetic, like, you know what I mean? And I know like she didn't even write all those words, but I know which one she did because I can tell. But like the authority she brings to that vocal is what speaks to me and makes me listen over and over and over. You know what I mean?
100%.
And the way she twists one word, I'm like, oh, did you hear how she just said that? Like, listen, I'm a fan of music. I'm a fan of singers. I'm a fan of music. And, like, that's why I do what I do. And I think I don't know, it's just what I am.
Yeah. I love it. Wow. That was powerful.
Good.
Woo!
Sure you can relate, and that's why. It's like, you know, I know you're a fan of music and you're very artistic. I think it takes one to know one, you know what I mean? It takes takes you to like relate.
Thank you. Thank you for the accolades. So on that note, I have to ask, what excites you the most about gig day and getting out there for that gig?
Honestly, I am somebody that really needs to see people's faces.
Yeah.
Like I love getting up there and looking out and being like, even if it's like 10 people in the room, like I need to see their face. Like I want to see they're awake, that it woke them up. You know what I mean? Like you'll see me go, if somebody's holding a phone, I'll put my eyeball right in that thing, like, you know, because I want them to be there. I don't mind the phone, but I also want them to like be part of the experience. So I think what excites me about gig day is it's never guaranteed how many people are going to be there. Even if you sold like all these tickets, something could happen, you know. So the uncertainty and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. I don't even know what I'm going to do when I get up there. Like I have to sometimes get myself really into it. And then there was one gig I just left the building and I was like, what am I doing? Like go back in the building. And it was like they were soloing. So luckily it was fine. But you know, I never know what's going to happen. And that's what I love. I think that's what excites me about gig day. I'm always nervous. I always get like this feeling like I can't do it.
Do you have a ritual or anything to like combat like the nerves or anything like that?
Yeah, I wear a necklace that has a lot of pieces to it. It's from when I was little. My dad would get me these charms from Kanakalili in Egypt. So they're all the way from when I was a little girl to when I recently went back and bought my own charms from there, and they all mean something. So I wear that around my neck at every show, just to feel. And you'll see me like hold on to it a lot, like in between songs. And it's like a soothing safety for me, you know. So I wear that. I always warm up. I usually hide out before the performance because I love the mystery. Yeah. I love when I love interacting, but I love more that somebody's giving themselves to a show. Like I want to see the artist pop out, and then you want to talk to me for an hour and a half afterwards. That's good, but I don't want to see them before. Like I want to be surprised. So I always stay backstage. Sometimes I'll peek out if somebody's just amazing. And then, but I try to stay away until it's time to be on stage. I almost always pop on stage. I almost don't ever go on with the band if it can be helped. And I think it gets me excited. And I saw Iggy Pop do this, and I think that's where I took it from. Like, his band just rolls, and then all of a sudden this lunatic comes running on stage, like limping really on stage, and you're like, what the hell is that? You know, like, what is it? And you're just like a child. You're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So I want to give that experience to people. So I do that. I always warm up. I always cool down. And that's about it. I try not to eat like 3 hours before a performance.
Yeah, that's smart.
Starving, because like it just, I learned early on there's like your blood cells are highly at work digesting things, and you need them to sing with if you want to do like an hour and a half set or 2 hours. Like
there's still meaning. There is meaning to like go out hungry, go on that stage hungry. Like literally, actually, you should.
And you forget when you get up there, but man, you're like starving before, and then you get up there, you're like, what? And then afterwards, you need to go to the diner. That's all.
Oh yeah. Thing you got. Let's go.
Hey, diner almost after every show. That's ritualistic.
Yeah. Oh, can you tell us about Tight Lipped, your single that just came out? And I want to know about Dig Your Roots as well. Like that process. You have new music out for us, and lay it on us. Tell us about that.
Tight Lipped is the first single from the next album we're releasing next year. And Tight Lipped was written probably right before the pandemic hit. Like I think it was January, and we finished in February of 2020. And we recorded it in September, and then released it in January. And it was, once I heard the mix, I knew it was an important song. I knew it was an important song before that, but sometimes you don't know how the recording is going to come out, and it came out great. So I was like, okay, let's make a big like art piece video for this. Like now's the time. Like let's just make a statement with this song. So Tight Lipped originally was written, me and my co-writer, we sat in here actually in my apartment, and he was listening to, it's funny because I always say this because the influences are often whatever we're listening to. He was listening to like Ghost at the time, and what else was he listening to? He's listening to a lot of Ghost, and what do they call? They sang Asleep at the Wheel. Oh my God, I forget. Band of Skulls. So, and then I was listening to a lot of like 90s, early 90s, like grunge, a lot of Soundgarden, a lot of Nirvana, it's funny, you go through these phases, at least I do, and I think he does too. So we brought all that to the song, like, you know what I mean? I really wanted to write this like grungy, like verse, and he did. Like, if you listen to the verse, it's like kind of reminiscent of like grunge, and I just wanted to, I don't know why, but I immediately, right before that, I was reading a lot of Shakespeare, which I never read Shakespeare. And I love literature. I'm a nerd, but I was always terrified and inhibited by Shakespeare. And I started reading Shakespeare. Let me tell you what, I was like, and he makes a lot of religious like allusions, biblical allusions. And so I was like, Balm in Gilead had come up a number of times in like just people saying it or something. I'd be like, why am I hearing this statement over and over? And I was like, I looked it up. And so Balm in Gilead was this salve for like pain. So I was like thinking of this relationship I had, and I was like, baby, be my Balm in Gilead. Like, yeah, it's like trying to make it like Romeo and Juliet, like, you know, because we all want that on some level, like this romantic, enraptured, dramatic affair. And so that's what this was, the one I was talking about in the song. And it was really about this guy and kind of talking to this guy. And this relationship was like 10 years ago. It's so funny. But it was still like on my mind and revisited me. And I thought about myself at the time, and I was like, I just never spoke up. Like, I never said what I really wanted. If he said, like, do you like this? I'd just be like, yeah. You know, and I was like, I'm done with that. Like, in every area of my life, I'm done being tight-lipped. And that's like, it's the song title, Tight-Lipped. So, yeah, and I was really mad about how Ophelia died in, I was like, she drowned. And I was like, no. Like, we're going to revive Ophelia, right? So if you listen to each chorus in Tight-Lipped, it goes from I used to be so tight-lipped to I refuse to be tight-lipped to revived Ophelia. No more promises. I refuse to be so tight-lipped. So I'm not going to say yes to things to make it easier on you. I'm not going to like accept things that are good, but not what I want. And that takes a strong resolve with yourself and a daily minute by minute decision to go like, and you fail at it at times still, but I had made a conscious decision to be that woman that wasn't going to go back to being that girl that was afraid to speak up. So, and it wasn't really about because people, when it came out, they were like, is it about what's going on in the world? I'm like, not really. I wrote it. Like, I remember the one day we wrote it, Kobe Bryant, that was that day that Kobe Bryant died.
Right.
It was like the second time we met to write the song. And I was like, none of that was going on. Like, you know what I mean? This could be applied to whatever you want it to be applied to. For me, when I wrote it, it was really about me and my process of never opening my mouth when I wanted to. And I said, but apply it to everything that you think it works with, because that's what a great song does. I think it makes you feel it for whatever you see it as. So yeah, so sometimes I get upset that I explain it so much, but it really is, it was a big, powerful song for myself. And I knew that we could make a video that was equally powerful. So I worked with this director I really, really liked, a new young director, had really great vision, and I let him take the reins, and it was like the best thing I've ever done. I'm sure I'll work with him on the next record too, but that's the newest single. That'll be on the next record. And Dig Your Roots was really kind of the succession to Dead Reckoning. It was like this idea that I know who I am, I dig who I am, I'll show you who I am, because I used to hide, especially like when I was growing up, I hid that I was half Muslim, half, I'm not Muslim at all actually, but half my family is Muslim and half my family is Christian, and half of them are very European and half of them are very Mediterranean. So it's like Arabic side and a European side. So I hid that because I thought it made me different and I wanted to fit in. So Dig Your Roots is embracing your differences. When I really looked at all the songs, I was like, this is really a person's journey of embracing their differences and shining a light on them and saying, this is who I am. And the funny thing about this next record is it's the final succession of a 3-part series that I didn't even know was going to be a 3-part series of albums, but it's become that. So this next record coming out is the ending of that process, which is exciting because it's scary because you're like, what's next? But it's also exciting because you're like, all right, that's done. Next, like, what's next? And can't wait to see more so than anybody else. So
yeah, there's so many wonderful layers to this. This is one of my most favorite conversations. I think it's because like once I saw you guys live, like I loved you even more. So like I know it's been a while since I've been able to get out east. I haven't really had the chance to see you guys live, but like I don't know, it's just some of the best conversation. I really appreciate it.
Me too. I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate you letting me talk about these things because like I said, I'm a music fan and I'm a music nerd, and I love talking about it. And I love talking about, like, it reminds me where I come from.
Right.
So you're doing a great service to me as well. So thank you.
That's always super important, to never forget your roots. Mm-hmm. Never forget it. Yeah. So we're kind of coming to the back end. Like our time together kind of flew by because the conversation has been incredible. But can you let us in on, you were just overseas recently. Can you tell us about that experience? I really want to hear about Sweden and all that.
It's phenomenal. I mean, you never know what you're going to expect, but like this promoter was just relentless about getting us over there too. Because originally we were supposed to be there in June of 2020. And he was like, okay, so, and I made a joke when we would do the shows. I'd be like, and then Pele would call me like, okay, so ZouZou, we're not going to do the shows, and we're going to have to move them again. So I'm going to talk to the bookers and see, or the places. And I mean, he never stopped trying. Like, so we finally got there after June of 2020, we were supposed to go, then October of 2020, and then it got moved to April of 21. And we finally went in October of 2021. So, and we're going back in June of next year. So it was a powerful time. It was enlivening because anytime you go and you see a different culture and an older city, I mean, that's like, one of the first times when I was 11, I went to Cairo and I saw the pyramids, and I was like, it's just like time changes when you see older cities like that and older art. So it was really uplifting and inspiring. The audiences were ridiculously good. Like, they were into it. They love rock and roll. It's so great to see that people love rock and roll in different areas of the world. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't know. But Sweden They are love rock. I mean, like, I remember our first show was in Malmo, and actually when we go back, we're doing 2 nights in Malmo now because Malmo was so good. And they're a city about 6-hour train ride from Stockholm. And they just bought up our stuff, and they were like in the show, like they were feeling it. It's like a good show here. Like, rock fans everywhere have that passion, and that's what I love about rock and roll fans more than anything in the world, is like they just love that they're there, and they love live shows. Like, you know what I mean? Love live shows. So I get that from our audiences too, but it's nice to see it in a foreign country and be embraced in a foreign country, and to know that English or Swedish or whatever language, music transcends that. So it was amazing. I mean, it's nothing short of, you know, miraculous that we all got there with how many PCR tests you have to take. And even, you know, the guy from the Fledgstones, Keith Strang, introduced us most of the nights because he was playing with the other band, Stupidity, and he's like, they only took 20 PCR tests and got vaccinated 4 times to come over here. And I was like, he's not even lying. Like, you know, it wasn't that many, but you know, what you have to go through just to travel at this point. And I thought, so worth it. It doesn't even matter. So worth it. Like, it's nothing. It's just what we have to do now. And it's fine. We got to go and play music overseas.
Yeah.
Dream come true. So.
Can you tell me about your favorite, like, you know, downtime thing about being in Sweden, like the most fun thing that you did out there?
Yeah. For me, there's an old area of the city in Stockholm. I forget what it's called. It starts with a G. Everybody's going to be mad at me for not remembering this. But anyway, It was on Halloween night. And Travis is like, I'm going to take you guys all to this ghost tour. And I was like, oh, like a ghost tour. That's cool, right?
Love ghost tours.
It was so good. It was like, because you learned about like there is some Viking shit going on there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, oh my God. The term bloodbath came from this one area where they just murdered people, like 20 people, and it started raining, and it was like a bath of blood. And it was like, there was some dark stuff going on in Sweden like years ago, but it was great. And, you know, they talked about the plagues, and, you know, they interacted with us. Like, Travis was eating like what was supposed to be rats and stuff. And then John was supposed to be burying the bodies, the excess body. So it was like, it was oddly comforting to know that like we got through COVID and didn't have to do all that. But it was also just fascinating to be in another country celebrating one of my favorite holidays.
Mine too.
Yeah,
Halloween.
It was so good. It was so good. So that was my actual favorite. And you know, we did see you know, we went and saw some other things. Like we did our tour manager there brought us around to see a lot of things. Like we went to Hellmouth, which is an old record store there, drum store. So that was fun too. But I still love the ghost tour best.
Yeah, I love record store hopping. Like, I got my Victory Records t-shirt on. I'm repping Chicago Record Store tonight. I don't know if y'all could see that, Victory Records. But,
you know what? We're going to be in Chicago in a week from Saturday. So I'm going to go to the record store there. We're hitting the record store in Detroit. We're just doing like Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, and coming home. So I'm going to hit the record stores in every city.
Fantastic.
Love them. Love them. Pet Sounds in Sweden, in Stockholm, if you ever go. Pet Sounds is the place to go. I just got a Mahalia Jackson a vinyl there that's in German. I just love her voice. She's phenomenal. She's one of the original gospel, you know, and gospel became blues, became rock and roll.
Yeah, because like I absolutely love like the transition between gospel and rock and roll. Like, for real. Like,
I never knew.
Rosetta Tharpe. Like, I think a woman created rock and roll. Like, a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, they do.
A lot of people forget that.
I think we're finally getting some acknowledgement from, like, you know, the smaller, like, third man's talking about her.
Yeah. Like,
finally.
So like Lizzo did, like, she brought her, kind of like did a nod to her SNL special. If you go back and review when Lizzo was on SNL, like, she definitely did a nod to Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And I love that. I love that she's like finally getting attention. Like, she was a big factor in like a lot of what brought rock and roll into my wheelhouse. I grew up really religious, raised really religious, a couple different religions, and like I was always in church, always in the church, somewhere, something, Wednesdays, Sundays, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Always in church. And like my church, my favorite church, because I bounced to a couple, my favorite one was very music centric. And you would come out of service feeling so refreshed.
Yes.
And so uplifted. You'd just be like, take me to church. Like,
yeah, that's the way. I want to bring that, like, you know, the song we always close with, I always try to do that. It's important to me because to me, it's still soul. It's the soul. Like rock and roll is soul. You know, it comes from a deep place, a deep spirit of connecting, community. And I love, I've never been to a church like that. I would love to go to a church like that. I honestly, that is very inspiring to me. That's why I love those voices. And you know,
it is love. It really is. You can feel it. you feel it inside you. And you know, lifted.
What's the singer who did Hound Dog before Elvis did? Big Mama Thornton, was it?
I believe so.
Yeah, her voice. I watched a bunch of her videos in a row based on the fact that I found out she did Hound Dog before Elvis did. And I heard her version, and then I just kind of went down the YouTube rabbit hole with her, and I was just like, my God. And I never heard of her. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what a powerful singer. And just like natural, like it just came from this place. And all those singers that became big we're trying to emulate those guys, like Muddy Waters. And
so like a lot of that down home bluesy kind of southern rock and roll, a lot of that stuff, a lot of people don't realize kind of transitioned from slave music, like stuff that people would sing on the Chain Gang, transitioned into like stuff people would bring into church on Sunday, you know, because it's supposed to bring you power, give you strength to get through these like rough ass times. And like that transition from the church into like mainstream rock and roll through Black voices. So like, you know, it caught on because there were Caucasian voices that became a mouthpiece through that. They took that sound and adopted it, and then it blew up and took off. So that was the progression. That was your rabbit hole. That's your trail.
You don't want to lose that roots.
Yeah.
You don't lose the root.
But one more, I have, like, man, it's always too short, I swear. Need more time.
Just do it again when the next record comes out.
For real. Okay, so I have to ask if you gotta love a finale, because like that's your final touch, your final, you know, embrace with the audience. So I have to ask you, if money was no object and you had everything at your disposal, what would be your go-to getting the crowd hyped dream finale? Like, what would you do for it? It's a weird question, but I like to ask weird off-the-cuff questions.
No, I think it's a great dream. It's a great thing you can dream into being. It's honestly, right now, it would be the way we end the show is this song Euphoria, and I would want the audience to do it at the end, take over from to have the band keep playing, but instead of us doing the backgrounds and the, you know, churchy like euphoria, 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 like, you know, clapping and everything. More than just clapping, I want them up and like feeling it. Like, to me, that would be fantastic. Because I know everybody went home changed, hopeful, like feeling like they felt what they needed to feel. Like they weren't just an observer in the show; they were part of it, and they mattered.
You know, that's pretty.
I'm talking about it because I would love to have that happen.
That's pretty powerful, because I expected, like, you know, when and if I asked this question again, I expected people to be like, I'm gonna bring pyro in. I'm gonna like do a bunch of confetti. I'm gonna have these mascots dressed up and XYZ. I mean, yours was,
but that's not the goal. But I wouldn't mind having some confetti. I'm not gonna lie. I always love that on New Year's Eve. Like,
oh yeah, that's one of my most favorite things in the world. Like,
it's like a dream, right?
Yeah,
like a dream.
But like your answer Like, you didn't need all the bells and whistles. Like, it was, I feel like it always circles back to the audience and the audience feel with you. So that's beautiful. It is a beautiful answer in the essence of that. So
I think rock and roll can't lose that. It can't get so egotistical that it loses that connection with the community, like a community aspect to it. Like, I feel like the greatest artists have caused uprisings in some way. You know what I mean? Like,
right on.
like they insisted on you having some kind of uprising, you know?
Speak up and, like, you know, like, get the realness, like the passion, the drive. Like, I love when artists speak about, like, you can make it political, you don't necessarily have to, but like something that changes perspective, something that changes the world, something that brings positivity, something that uplifts. I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so as we sign off, I just wanted to give you the floor so that you can tell your international audience about all your socials and anything else that you need them to know right now about the band and what's going on going forward.
Definitely keep following us. Everything is Soraia Rocks. So it's just SORAIA ROCKS, all one word. It's on Instagram. We have a TikTok. I'm not very good at it. I'll be honest. I'm going to be better at it because I love TikTok. I love watching TikTok. So
yeah.
TikTok. So Facebook, same thing. We have a YouTube channel that I really am proud of, the last few videos, especially that we've done. So I'd love for you to watch that. You always can get a taste of what live Soraia is like by watching it too. Sort of, but you should come to a show. Next year we'll do a lot more touring, trying to extend the international tour too, and a lot more music. We have a new single coming out January 28th.
Oh, hey.
It's a cover. I think you'll love it. It's very different from what we normally do. And then another single like 6 weeks later, another single 6 weeks later, and then the album. So lots of new music next year, lots of new songs, lots of shows. We're trying to book a spring tour right now, but definitely by summer and fall, we're going to be playing a ton. So here and there before that, but keep your eye on Soraia Rocks, or Soraia.com has all our tour dates on it. So, yep.
Thank you, ZouZou. I appreciate your time. This has been an extremely wonderful interview. It's been beautiful. Thank you for everything. I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the near future. I know I work a ton, but hopefully that'll, segue into me being able to do more music stuff. But take care of yourself. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you. Thanks. You're great, and keep doing it, and don't stop.
All right, everybody. This has been Roctavia Rose with Rock News UK. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight for our evening edition. And as always, yes, please do check out everything Soraia. Stream them on Spotify too. A lot of good stuff there. Please do. And take care of yourselves. Thanks, everybody.